Hello everybody, this is Dr. Janice Singh, and in this video I'll be talking about writing task 1 of Ielts academic. I'm sure that many of you might be having many confusions related to this particular task. So I'll try to simplify all those problems and make this task clear for you, because no matter how much practice you are actually doing at home, but it is important to have a basic understanding of that particular task. Only then you can practice it in right way and score high bands in your final exam. So writing task 1, which basically means report writing, it requires you to write a summary of at least 150 words in response to a particular graph or a chart, or it could be a table or a diagram. Now, what are these different categories of graphs that is expected in the final exam? I'll be explaining you later, but before that we need to understand that minimum word limit for this particular task is 150 words. That means you need to manage this task in 20 minutes. So again, here also I'll make one thing clear with you, that do not over exceed your word limit. Do not exceed it over 190 words, because if you're doing that, you'll fail to manage your time accordingly. It's 1 hour is given to you guys for your writing task module, out of which 40 minutes you need to manage for your essay writing, which is writing task 2, and remaining 20 minutes should be managed for your writing task 1. So this is all about your time limit and word limit. Then moving on to types of graphs. See, you can get the information. There is a data, basically data is given to you in your exam in different forms. Now these different forms means that it could be given in form of a bar graph. Now what is a bar graph? I'll also, you can find a bar graph that is displayed on the screen, so it will be clear for you. Basically a rectangular boxes, there is x-axis and y-axis basically, and the data is given to you in form of rectangular boxes. So these rectangular boxes basically means that the graph is a bar graph basically. Then second important type is line graph, which is also called linear graph. So linear graph basically means that there is one starting point and one end point, and then there is a line, a continuous line. There is no breakthrough in between. There is a continuous line, and you'll find fluctuations in these particular lines. You'll find that the percentage or any such information, the number is either increasing or decreasing, or it's remaining constant in particular time period. So the data is fluctuating in the particular time period that is given to you. So how bar graph and linear graph is different, that bar graph is basically the information is provided in form of rectangular boxes, whereas if we talk about linear graph, you'll find that there is a continuous line, there is no breakthrough, and there is only one finishing point and only one end point. So this is how bar graph and linear graph are different. Then third category is pie chart. Now pie chart is quite different from the two categories that I have explained to you. Pie chart means that the information, the data is provided in form of a circle. You'll find a circle, and then the part of that circle is divided according to different categories that is given to you. Then moving on, then you can expect a table in your exam. Table means, a time period is given to you with the different categories. You'll find categories in that horizontal axis, and then the vertical axis is basically for the time period, and this is how it is divided. The data is divided, and you just have to compare and contrast the differences that are given in this particular table. Then next category is process. There are flow charts. There are flow charts, there are diagrams, there are maps. So what happens is that different steps are given. For example, if I particularly talk about a flow chart, you'll find different steps in this particular flow chart, and then you have to explain these steps, how a process is basically done, how a process is accomplished, and this is how the steps of the process have been drawn in form of a flow chart, and you just have to explain, you have to summarize that particular information which is given in the form of the diagram or a chart. You have to summarize it in 150 words. Then you'll find mixed graphs. Now, what are these mixed graphs? Mixed graph means, these are the most common type in your that you can expect in your final final exam. Sorry. So, mixed graph means that you will get a pie chart, possibly a pie chart with a table, or you can get a bar graph with a line graph. So basically you'll find a mixture of different categories here, different graphs. For example, it's not that only you can expect only one type of graph in your final exam. The data is divided into different types of graphs or charts. You can find a diagram with a pie chart. There might be a combination of a line graph with a table. So this is how you can expect one or more, two or more than two graphs in your final exam. Moving on to the structure of this particular task, there are mainly mainly four paragraphs that you need to design in your final exam. The first one is introduction for sure. Then comes overview. Now you don't have conclusion in this particular writing task. Unlike in your writing task 2, which is an essay, you're supposed to write a conclusion in the end, but here you need to write an overview. It is not called a conclusion, it is called overview instead. What you're supposed to do in overview, I'll explain you. Then there are body paragraphs. Possibly, I think you can summarize everything in body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2, and that's it. Now, particularly talking about introduction. See, in introduction, you're supposed to paraphrase the statement. Paraphrasing the statement is really important. If you have any confusions, if you do not know how to paraphrase any statement, you can write it in the comment section below. Please comment below under this video. I'll be making a separate video where I can actually guide you how you can paraphrase your sentences perfectly, because this is important to learn. If you are preparing for your Ielts, paraphrasing is very important. In my earlier video on writing task 2, also I explained to you that what is paraphrasing and why it is important for your writing task 2. And here again I'll repeat the same thing, that even in case of writing task 1, that is report writing, paraphrasing is really important. Then you need to paraphrase some statements in your speaking section as well. So please practice paraphrasing at home. Then talking about overview, what you need to do in overview is you just have to summarize the entire information in 3 or 4 lines maximum. You don't have to write any particular data or percentage in this, or you're not supposed to write numbers in this particular paragraph. You just have to need to give an overview of what all is explained. That's it, by comparing the changes. Then comes body paragraphs. Body paragraphs means you have to explain the data in detail. You have to point out the important features of the data and explain it with comparisons and similarities. So body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2, you have to divide accordingly. I'll be making a separate video where I'll be giving you an example of a particular task, and I'll complete the task for you so that you can understand how similarities are done, how comparisons are made, and how you can actually divide your data into 2 body paragraphs. I'll be explaining all these things in my upcoming video. Now moving on to my next important thing, that is points to remember. There are many points that you need to remember while you're actually writing your report, because if you're missing out even a single point, your writing task is actually useless, or in direct words I would say that you cannot score your desired bands in your final exam. Very first important point is introduction is paraphrased. As I explained you earlier while explaining the structure of this task, you need to paraphrase the introduction. If you're not doing that, that means your introduction is of no use. Moving on to next point, data is compared and contrasted. See, if you're not comparing things with each other in your writing task 1, then there is no question of writing it. There is no question of expecting bands from your examiner, because comparison is top requirement in your writing task 1. Comparisons and contrast. Wherever it is required, please compare it. Wherever similarities, it is important to show the similarities, show the similarities. But it is important, the connection, it is important to show the connection between different years and categories. Then right use of tenses is very important. See, sometimes the data is given in past tense, again sometimes in present tense, or it might be given in future tense. So basically, generally what happens is there is mixture of tenses that you need to use, because the part of a data would be in past tense, then the part would be in present tense, and then sometimes there is also there are projections for a future. So that means you'll be using future tense there. So please use tenses accordingly. That's important. Then clear focus on various trends. So trends means sometimes there is an increase seen in a particular time period. Then there is a stability that is observed in the next time period. Then there must be a decline, a sudden decline, or a slow decrease. So you need to understand these trends, these important trends that have been shown in that particular graph, and you have to explain these trends properly. Moving on, highlight important features. Yes, you need to highlight some important features. That means if you find that in suppose in 2009 an important change you have noticed in that particular year, you need to highlight those. I don't say that you have to highlight each and every year or each and every month that has been given to you in your graph, but you have to highlight the important years or months that have been displayed in that particular display, or shown in that particular graph or chart. Moving on, information is summarized in overview. So do not miss overview. That is very important. You have two options. Basically, you can write overview just after introduction, or you can write overview by the end of all paragraphs. That is your choice. I personally prefer writing it immediately after introduction. It's like introduction, then overview, then body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. I believe this is the best way to write your essay. There are no confusions as well. Moving on to my next important point, which says that well organized and clearly explained data in body paragraphs. See, if you write your you don't need to mix the information in body paragraphs. You need to be very clear with what is to be explained earlier and what is to be explained in the later part of the body paragraphs. If you are leaving the examiner confused by your writing skills, then he'll not give you bans. He'll only give you bans if you are clear with your explanation. So this clarity is really important. Moving on, correct use of connecting words. Of course, you have to use connecting words, because how will you show the similarity and comparison? Otherwise, there is no other way to show these. So connecting words are important, but again, do not overuse, don't overuse these connecting words. Using them correctly wherever it is required. That's it. Vocabulary and complex sentence structures. So vocabulary, as I always say, that is a boon to your writing or your speaking. So more vocabulary you use, but use accurate vocabulary. It's not that you have crammed a word and you're just using it without knowing its meaning. It's very important to use correct vocabulary. And then sentence structures, you need to use wide range of sentence structures, because sometimes there is a trend that is repeated in the graph. You have to explain the similar kind of trend, and you cannot explain it in the same manner. You have to paraphrase that particular sentence, or you have to use a different style. For example, somewhere you're explaining it in active sentence formation, whereas in the next time you're using passive sentence formation. So this wide range of sentence formation is important for you to learn. So these were main important points that you need to remember while planning your answer. Do not miss any out of these. I hope that many things were clear. I explained you what are the different type of graphs that are expected in your final exam. Then I explained you the structure of this particular task, and finally we discussed some important points that you need to remember for sure if you want to score high in your Ielts. This is all about today's video. I'll be coming up with a new video where I'll be giving you one example of such writing task, and I'll actually you'll be more clear how report writing is finally done. Thank you all for watching this video, and please hit the like button below if you like my video, because this motivates me to perform better and bring better stuff for you in my upcoming videos. And do not forget to subscribe my video, because you'll actually get notifications for my new videos and you'll not miss out any. So thank you for watching. Do comment for any suggestions in the comment section below. Good luck from my side.